Hello and welcome to Disability Services 101, Part 3, Registering with Disability Services and Notice of Accommodations. This video will go over the process of how a student registers with disability services. It will also explain what a Notice of Accommodation is and how academic accommodations work. I will also explain the different categories that may be listed on an NOA and highlight which parts pertain to faculty and adjunct instructors. To start, I will explain how the disability services registration process and the academic accommodation process works. First, a student contacts disability services to register for academic accommodations. Next, the disability services coordinator follows up with the student and schedules a date and time for an initial disability services consultation. During the phone or in-person consultation, the disability services coordinator gathers two required items from the registering student: official documentation and the disability services request form. Official documentation is the legal proof from a licensed professional that states a student's diagnosis. This information qualifies the student to receive accommodations and is kept confidential by the DS coordinator. Please note, a student's diagnosis will never be disclosed to any other individual on campus unless the student chooses to self-disclose this information. Therefore, you may not ask the student why they are receiving accommodations. This is confidential information. After reviewing the documentation and DS request form, the Disability Services Coordinator creates an official Notice of Accommodation, also called an NOA. An NOA lists all of the reasonable accommodations the student is eligible for and is the only person that can make this decision. This is an individualized process to remove barriers, not lower any standards. The DS coordinator then emails the student's official NOA to the student and all current professors in that semester. The Disability Services Coordinator automatically renews all NOAs prior to the start of each semester. So students are encouraged to email and/or set up a private appointment with each professor every semester regarding accommodations they plan to use in each class. Now that you know how the registration process works and what a Notice of Accommodation is, I'm going to talk about the different categories you may see listed on a Notice of Accommodation, which is shown on the right side of this slide. An NOA lists all academic accommodations the student is eligible for. He or she may choose to use some in certain classes and not in others. It is entirely up to the student to initiate a conversation with each of his or her professors and to request to use specific accommodations for each class. For example, a student may request to take all history tests and quizzes in a reduced distraction-free environment, but they may not request testing accommodations for math. Adjuncts and faculty. You will most likely see these categories on the NOA. Testing accommodations, in-class accommodations, accommodations arranged by disability services, and/or student-initiated accommodations. Testing and in-class accommodations are the only two categories that involve your direct collaboration. Accommodations may look different in an online class versus a face-to-face class. If you have any questions about how to implement an accommodation, depending on the class setting, please contact Disability Services. The three takeaways from this video are: 1. Treat disability information that a student has disclosed to you as confidential. 2. Respect the privacy of students with disabilities. Even though students disclose information pertaining to their diagnosis with an NCU Disability Services officer, they are not obligated to share about their disability with instructors, staff, or peers. 3. If you have any questions about what an accommodation looks like in one of your classes, please call Disability Services. Accommodations are not up for interpretation, only collaboration. We sincerely thank you for collaborating with Disability Services. Your partnership helps remove barriers by providing equal access to education for students with visible and invisible disabilities. Please contact me, Bethany Dilla, at bdilla@nwcu.edu or Angela Doty at adoty@nwcu.edu, or by phone or by simply emailing us to set up a meeting in person. We'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.